joining us today for our Nonprofit Success Lab. I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking about today because it's really topical and timely. And we love it when things that we get to share with everyone is relevant to what they're currently experiencing. So our Nonprofit Success Lab is sponsored by Idaho Partners for Good. Our mission is to reinvent how people like you and me give, share our expertise, and do greater good together. Our vision is to develop stronger, healthier, and better equipped nonprofits so that they can do more of what they do best. We do that by educating donors to give them more impact, by providing nonprofits with the education that they need, like this, for example, coaching, mentoring, evaluating what they're doing and how they can do it better, developing accountability and capacity building expertise. So our experts that we bring on are world class, and I'm sure she'll be happy to tell us a little bit about some world class and global things that she's been up to recently. Oops, sorry, again, I'm not the person in charge usually, and it shows. So today our topic is Calm to Chaos, turning challenges into opportunities and building resilience in uncertain times. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Ray.
Excellent. Here I go sharing my screen now. Okay. So, yay. Thank you for having me. This is awesome. And I think the topic today is definitely a very valid topic that we might all be facing. So, hoping that we can calm the chaos together. And the workshop, let's see, we have a worksheet, I meant to say, that we'll go and you can do it along if you want. What you can do is make a copy of this so that you can have your own, because if you make changes on this one, everyone will see them. So you can hopefully you can see where my screen is here. To go to file and make a copy so that you can create your own document. And you can use that as we go, or you can reflect back on some of the things that we'll talk about today. And just it'll help you guide you along the way, and then a way for you to remember what you've learned today. So there you go. Now let me get back to my slides. Okay. Okay, so just a little bit about Pepper Shock Media, just so that you understand where I'm coming from here. As Reed mentioned, I've been able to speak globally. I went to Saudi Arabia 2 years ago and got to speak on the creative economy stage at the Leap Technology Conference. And I just got back from Las Vegas speaking. I did 9 sessions in 4 days. I don't recommend it, but it was a lot of fun. And I spoke to a room full of creatives and freelancers and designers and video producers. And it was at the National Association of Broadcasters, big, huge, ginormous show, and did Post-Production World and Visual Storytelling Conference. There's part of our team. We are a full service marketing agency, and we help people tell their stories and through video production, graphic design, web design. And I'm sitting in our podcast recording studio today, coming to you from Nampa, Idaho. Just a little bit more about us, and we'll get past that. And then now let's just get into today's agenda. Why we are here. We're going to talk about because chaos is real, and but so is our ability to navigate it. And we're going to explore some tools and strategies to lead with resilience, clarity, purpose, and especially through communication and storytelling. So we're going to talk about those things, understanding the chaos and uncertainty, reframing the challenge, building resilience in real time, and creating calm through chaos roadmap. And then we'll have some conclusion and comments at the end. But yes, feel free to use the chat. I do have it open so I can look at that. But let's go ahead and just dive right in. So why we're here. I think a lot of us are all experiencing some sort of chaos, whether in our work or our personal lives or the world around us. But the chaos does not have to define us. Today, we'll focus on turning that storm into strength. And this is a space to reflect, be real. I think everyone knows that there's some things that are going on in life, and so we can explore those together. There's no wrong or right answers. There's no pressure. We just want honesty and insight and growth. And that's what hopefully we can tap into those things that are giving you anxiety today. But we want to make sure that this is a safe space for you to share and show and tell if you care to share. You don't have to, but you can if you want to. We'll do a breakout session and we can work through some things together, and then we'll come back and share. And if you're feeling like you can do that today. But let's just begin with a quick grounding practice. This will help us with our nervous system so that we can settle in and focus. And so what I want you to do right now, close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. Take 3 deep breaths. Just let go of anything that's pulling your attention away. Put your phone away, put those messages away. You're here now. Be present with us, okay? Now, let's talk about what chaos is and how it shows up for us. And it shows up differently for everyone. But it could be things like work deadlines, global crisis, burnout, funding getting pulled. What matters is how we notice how it's affecting us and what we can do to work through that in those moments when we feel overwhelmed. We have lack of control sometimes. There's just some things that are just out of our control. There's constant change, and then there's emotional fatigue that can happen through it. But these are natural responses. The key is to become aware of your patterns so that you can choose how to respond rather than react. One of the Stephen Covey rules, right? Think before you speak. And so we can think about the things that we are going through and understand what triggers us and how we respond. There's either fight, where we want to control and have confrontation. Flight is avoidance and distraction. We might freeze, shut down, indecision, analysis paralysis kind of things, or fawn. We want to overplease and over accommodate. And some of those reactions can happen to all of us in multiple different ways. Just understanding how those are natural responses, but becoming aware of your patterns and how you might respond rather than react. And then now here's a prompt. So I want you to take a moment to reflect. What chaos are you facing right now? What is it that what challenges are you facing? What is the big thing that is keeping you up at night? What is it that you're trying to currently navigate, either personally or professionally? Excuse me. How does it show up in your mind, your body, and your work? And if you think about this moment, and we can think about using your worksheet, what is the thing that you are working on? And in the worksheet, the first question is, what is the current challenge that you're facing? So I want you to take a moment, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to ask permission if we can do a short breakout, because I want you to talk with other people, because sometimes that helps us work through the process of what's happening to us. And again, only if you care to share. If you're comfortable in that space, then you are welcome to do that. And I see Blossom says a lot of nonprofits are coming and asking for help because their funding has been pulled. Yeah, it's a really big one. And we're facing that too. One of our nonprofits that we work with, a government entity, is also getting their funding pulled. So we are then also being affected by that as well. So we can work through this together. But let's do a quick breakout room. Why don't you type in yes if this is okay? If we do a breakout room, type yes. Let me see in the comments. Yes, yes, yes. Wonderful. Okay. Wanted to ask permission. So there's 9 of us participating. So we're going to do a quick breakout session here. And what I want to do is spend about 5 minutes total, and I'll try to put a timer in there if I can, and just take turns sharing a little bit about what you're going through. And if you care to share, of course. So let me get the breakout here. And I'll pop in and just see how things are going here. Okay. I kind of just randomly did it, so that way people can go there. All right, so you're able to join the breakout now, it should say.
Ray, can you share the worksheet again with everybody? Because
Did.
once we go into groups, we can't get them. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
I got it. I got it
Oh,
now.
got
It's
it?
in
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, it should have a timer.
Yep, I see it.
Okay, and you're welcome to join a breakout room if are you able to see that now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Hi there. You came back with me.
I decided to get back before.
Yeah, this is all good. Let me see if I can get back to my share screen here. Okay. Should be the right one. Okay. I think we almost have everybody back. Where did my screen go?
Mhm.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so just let's take maybe just about 30 seconds and just share what your group talked about, and if there's anything that you care to share with us. And it's kind of sometimes a good feeling to know that others are going through something similar that we might all be going through. So appoint your spokesperson for your group and give us just a round robin of what was shared today.
I can start if that.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not having to say anything scripted, I do okay. That's where I shine when I'm not supposed to say or do a certain thing. That's my strong suit. So I thought it was kind of interesting, just the little group that we ended up in. It naturally kind of ended up focusing on education. Different angles at it, coming at it from different directions. But experiencing the uncertainty and I gave them some toxic positivity statements like, look at all the opportunity, talking about particularly STEM funding in Idaho and how that can affect so many people from so many different directions. I even tried to volunteer Lance's wife as a board member. I don't think it's going to work out, but I did the very best I could with the 90 seconds that I had to solve that problem in a sitcom style quickness. So yeah, just I think education touches everybody, and it definitely came up in our group.
Excellent. All right. Let's see who else we had. We had three groups. So, Vicky, do you want to share about your group?
Sure. Sorry, I was I'm silencing. Yeah, I think Shelley's doing a lot of consulting with nonprofits in the area, and everybody is scrambling and trying to figure out what's next. I'm working with the TLC leaders. There are, 5 nonprofits that Idaho Partners for Good is supporting through this leadership series, and everybody is just in this state where there are so many swirling questions that it's hard to think. It's hard to be planful, and I have to constantly remind myself of what we know about the brain, which essentially is working against us. When we're like that, it's all those chemicals that are saying, stop, stop, freeze, run, danger, saber-toothed tiger. So, there's all of that. And then for us as individuals, the struggle trying to help others navigate this time, or even I didn't get to talk about it, but like even our own worries, right? I worry about my kids. What does this mean for them?
Yeah.
As a young
Thank you
adult.
for sharing. I really appreciate that. Then there was one more group. Did you want to care to share? Let's see. Blossom, I think, were you in, who is in your group? I should have taken a screenshot.
Ivan and Renee. So I think, first of all, Ivan started with great news, with a skill bridge program that they got approved for by the DoD, which is an awesome program. But I think it really, there are a couple of key themes. One is there's some things that have to do with economic development, rural thriving, DEI, and leaders that we all are struggling with. How do you provide the kind of encouragement and support necessary to help the leaders move through some of the trauma that they are that's hitting them right now, because it has to do with people's livelihoods and their future. So I do think that this is super opportune, and we have to help figure it out.
And you keyed up and teed me off to our next part of this. So from threat to opportunity, where a challenge lies, a potential turning point. Growth often begins at the edge of discomfort, and I feel like that's where we are right now. Is we might even be over the edge, and so we have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And when we frame how we change, when we see something without really pretending that it's not hard. A lot of us try to maybe push it away and think, I just don't want to deal with this right now. But it's about finding meaning and momentum in the messiness. And we often view chaos and challenges as just purely negative, something to survive. Um, that we can't necessarily get through or thrive through. So, if we can begin to see those moments as invitations to opportunities, to slow down, to question, to innovate, to create something new, reframe. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're denying the difficulty. It just means that you're choosing a lens to help us move forward. And as leaders, our interpretation of challenges can become contagious. So keep that in mind. If you are in the negative headspace, then those around you are also going to see that in that space as well. But if we can approach these threats that are coming into our organizations, and if we can help our teams feel less stress and the urgency that comes with these things, that is so hard to do as leaders. I can relate to that for sure. But if we can approach this space for an opportunity for learning, for growth, for clarity, to feel grounded and hopeful, even through the chaos, the core idea is that your mindset will set the story and your story sets the tone for everyone around you. So if you can think about the silver lining sometimes, not necessarily, I'm not saying you need to be Pollyanna, right? And be super positive throughout everything. But I also think that if you can think through how your mindset is going to be through these things, that we're all faced with, that we're all going through, um, you know, who and how can you relate and talk to other people just like we did today. I think that sometimes being in a leadership position can be somewhat lonely. And if you don't have others around you, surrounding you that can, remind you of the mindset that you may need to refocus your energy and effort in, then we can talk about that. So strategic reframing, let's talk about the power of how we speak, especially as leaders. The words we use become that lens that others understand in their reality. So when we say things like everything's falling apart, or we're so behind, or we're in such a crisis mode, all of those things can be really big triggers. So if we can recalibrate the phrases, saying we're focusing our energy on where it matters most, we're still being honest, but with intention and hope baked in, we're going to strategically reframe. It's not necessarily spinning it, but it's storytelling with purpose. If we're choosing words that tell the truth and create the safe space that we all want to be in, it's about using the narrative and bringing the teams and the communities along with us in that narrative, not just informing them, but doing things to inspire them in ways that you can use the right terminology when telling those stories, that you are wanting to explain how things are going. And it's how we talk about the storm. How we talk about the storm affects how we weather it. How we talk about the storm affects how we weather it. Okay. Looks like somebody else is wanting in the room here. All right. So think of all the communication that you're putting out, all the stories that you're sharing, an email, a text message, a meeting, even casual comments, as a chance to reframe, and what the difference between the chaos and the mess and the, "Oh, we're so behind, it's critical, it's all that. If you can reframe that, be contagious in clarity, and by being contagious in a good way. Sometimes that's the trick there, to be contagious in a good way. And I'm gonna keep going because we already did the activity there. And how we're gonna see it differently. So when we spoke in our groups, some of the things that I just kind of popped in and heard is, explaining the stories of what's happening and how it's happening. I want you to take a moment and reflect back on how you shared the story of what's going on with your organization or what is happening, and how maybe there might be moments where you can reframe some of the things that you're saying to your team, or how you're communicating with the community. If there are positive words that you can use, still saying the truth and clarity in what's happening. But maybe give me some examples. If there were some things that you can think of that might be helpful in reframing the story of what's going on in your world. You're welcome to use chat, or even if you want to raise your hand, I can communicate with you that way. I pulled up my beautiful faces here. But if there's some things that you can think about in your story, in the narrative that you're speaking to the community, that you're speaking to each other with, maybe there's some things that kind of made, when I said, okay, I need to reframe that. Is there anything that anyone cares to share about how you can maybe reframe some of the narrative that you're sharing with your community?
Ray, this is Blossom. One of the things that we've really tried to be intentional around is how we're stepping into the middle of the issues of DE&I, as well as this issue of reducing government waste. And there are ways to reframe those things in ways that keep people's back from the wall, but also allows for room to work on it. And so I do think that it's super important that as a sector that we have to acknowledge this is the reality, and how do we message so that we're united, and that we know that there is a roadmap forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to pipe in there before we move on? Okay, we can keep going. No worries. Okay, let me pull up my other screen here. Now we're talking about communication as a leadership tool. So your voice as the leader sets the tone, as we were talking about, and let's think about those ways that we can communicate that brings people together. When everything does feel uncertain, your voice becomes one of the most powerful tools that you have. And so thinking of the communication, not just sending messages, but as setting the atmosphere in your organization. People don't just want updates, they want to feel grounded, they want to feel safe. And that's how you can communicate, and that's where how you communicate matters just as much as what you say. And then remember, communication can be contagious. So your tone becomes your team's tone. And when you lead with clarity and calm, others will mirror it. And that's how stability begins to rebuild from the inside out. I always say culture starts from the inside out, and your brand is your culture is your brand. And if you are telling narratives and stories that you want your people to emanate, and like Brian said, I always call our people our shareholders, because they're the ones who have the power to share the stories that we are sharing in our organizations. And so those are our new shareholders, not like the corporate shareholders that you think of in a for-profit company, but you have shareholders just as much as corporations do, as nonprofits. And so giving the power to the shareholders to give them the stories that you can then let them contagiously spread in good ways, ideally in a good atmosphere with clarity and calmness. But yeah, it's not just what we say, it's how we say it, and it's how people hear what we are saying with intention. So the CALM framework, as we were kind of studying to put this together, I liked this a lot. The CALM method is a simple framework to help you communicate with intention, especially when things are in that messy, uncertain, challenging time that we're going through. So the C stands for clear. And in uncertain times, clarity is kindness. Your team, your board, your audience, your constituents, the people that you work with, they don't necessarily need all the fancy language. They just need clarity, and they need direct, digestible sound bites. In news, we call them sound bites, little clips that they can use and help share to other people, like quotable moments, right? And so I encourage people to eliminate all the buzzwords, because sometimes people who are not in your world don't understand the acronyms and all the buzzwords that you might be using in your organization. So when you're sharing your story, use clear, digestible language that we can then get out there. So an example, instead of we're realigning our operational objectives, we can say, we're focusing our energy on the programs that matter most right now. It kind of spins it into a nice, positive, clear statement as an example. And then authentic. We know that authenticity, people want that more now than ever, especially with all the AI tools that we all can use, and I love using them, but we also want to make sure that we are coming from a place that is authentic, that is true to what we feel and think and want to say. And, people can sense it. It's, sense it a mile away when it's, not authentic and it's just fake. We don't want fake. We want real people, real trust. And especially in your nonprofit space, authenticity is really your greatest asset. And it's okay to say that we don't have all the answers yet, but here's what we do know. And that kind of grounded honesty builds trust faster than just polished statements. And in working, I teach Boise State students. And so the Gen Z, their big thing is authenticity. And it doesn't always have to be a polished, statement. They want the real deal. They like the live. They like the things that are happening in the moment. So authenticity is so important, especially for our young people. That's really what they want to see and hear. And then L for calm is listening driven. Communication is a loop. It's not a one-way broadcast. Make space to hear from your team or your community, your board members, all of the people that you're serving. Ask questions and create feedback channels where people can give you that feedback. Whether it's a quick poll in your social media or surveys that you can send out, just get a pulse on your people. And when people feel heard, they're more likely to engage and align. If they feel like they're a part of the process, they're going through this with you, then they are going to have buy-in into your solutions and be a part of the solution. Lean on your people to help you understand maybe things that they're coming from at their perspectives and not just your own, right? Because we're so close to it. And asking for questions and feedback is a great way to engage the people that you serve the most. And then the M for calm is mission aligned. And every message, we want to remind people what you stand for and who you are and why you do what you do. And even when the path gets bumpy, coming back to that mission or your mantra or what motivates you as an organization is the compass that we want to make sure that we're aligning with and that we're following the path, even when it does get messy. Sometimes we have to take detours to get where we're going. But if we can continuously figure out that roadmap and understand our destination together, and connecting all of your updates and your emails, messages, all the things that you're putting out there, the videos that you may do, which by the way, video is the number one way to communicate with people now. And obviously I have a bias because we do video production, but it's true. There's lots of evidence that people will watch videos, even if it's not with audio, they will watch videos with the subtitles on. So make sure that you have the subtitles on when you're doing your communications, because we know that audio agnostic, meaning that you produce things without being able to hear it. If people can see it, they will read along in the video more than they'll read on a page on a website. So just a little thought there. If you can do things to help get your message out through video, you're doing yourself and everyone a service. And again, the shareholders have the power to share it with others. And those videos, even if they're short clips, can be super powerful if you want to get a good message out. And connecting your updates, responses, and then, making sure that you're commenting and communicating with the people that will comment and share, and just being strategic about what it is that you're going to share and how you're going to share it. Okay, so that was calm, and we need to also think about how we can be resilient, how we can bounce back from some of these things that are happening, that some of it is out of our control. So what can we do to be resilient? It's not about just being tough, it's about being adaptable and connected. And these 4 pillars support resilient leadership and resilient teams. And so just let's do a quick self-check. thinking about which one of these is your anchor, which pillar can be something that you can focus on. Obviously, we want all of them, but what's something that you can really look at and do? And in the worksheet, let's take a look here. The worksheet, you don't have to necessarily do it right now, but there is a score. So this is something that you can do also with your team, and think about your resiliency self-check and rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 5. And we love to do Likert scales, and we love to do sentiment scoring and things like that to just get a pulse on what's happening. So thinking about how you are with each of these pillars, and I'm going to take you through some of these pillars now. Let's see. Switch back to the, there we go. Okay, so first of all, the pillar for self-awareness helps you respond instead of react. When you know your strength signal, you can choose a wiser next step. So if you're thinking about how self-aware you are, and in leadership, sometimes we have to take a moment, take a pause before we respond, before we just react right away. Yeah, oh, I love that. In a recent crew meetup, be a lighthouse, not a weather vane. Yes. Thank you, Brian, for sharing that. I think there was another comment I missed. I was listening to a podcast recently on Gen Z. It's all about authenticity. Yep, that's right. So yeah, TikTok is definitely where the videos are at. Okay, so self-awareness, recognizing what your triggers are and the patterns that you can just take a pause and understand, and how self-awareness, and you can rate yourself. Obviously, this is for you to rate, on a scale of 1 to 5. How self-aware are you? Are you doing things to practice that emotional regulation? When big news comes and it's something that's out of your control, how are you reacting to that? What tone are you setting for your team? And then some things you can do is journal and reflect regularly to help you with your self-awareness, and do some grounding techniques. Grounding techniques like box breathing. So, like we did when we first began, we grounded ourselves and we took a breath, and you can hold your breath, and then all of that oxygen coming into your body can really help give you a moment to pause, and exhaling slowly, and then holding again for 4 seconds, and then repeat the cycle 4 or 5 times to just take a grounding moment. My watch does this for me, which I love about, if you have an Apple Watch, it tells me that I need to take a moment to breathe and take a clarity moment. It also tells me when I need to stand up because I've been sitting too long. Those are all things that you can use to do to help you. And then, of course, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 sensory reset. Think about the 5 things that you can see, the 4 things that you can feel, the 3 things that you can hear, the 2 things that you can smell, and the 1 thing that you can taste. So, you can do this out loud or in your head, and you repeat the cycle just a little bit to continue to keep yourself in that self-awareness moment of being present, but also giving yourself a, just a moment to get yourself grounded, especially when big news happens. And then being movement and mindful and peaceful. We do, when we have everybody here, we're doing Moby minutes. So we take a minute and we get up from our desk, we move, we do something. We Brian will do push-ups and wall sits, or just people around the office will do something, whether it's any type of movement that can get you away from your desk for a moment, that is just getting your brain in that mode to be able to be productive again. These moments just, sometimes taking that minute, just even if it's 60 seconds or 2 minutes, taking a walk around the block, looking at things that you wouldn't normally look at, and just taking a moment and kind of stepping away for a second and then coming back to it. And you can do stretches, you can do, things to intentionally reset your mind and your body to get you into that self-awareness mode, to not necessarily just react. But yeah, those are things that you can do to just quickly ground yourself. And by the way, sometimes when we get big news like that and we need a moment, It's okay to say, hey, you know what? I need a moment before I can react to this. And sharing that with people, just say, you know what? I'm going to get back to you on this. I need a moment to just think, or just let me, take that moment to ground myself first. And then I can come back at this and share with that. I've learned for me, sometimes when we get in the heat of the moment, I do have to sometimes just take a pause and be like, okay, let's just take a pause and let me come back to this so I can answer you more intelligently or more calmly, right? And those are some things that we can train ourselves to do, to lead with that clarity and presence and purpose, and intentionally be there for your people. Okay, so flexibility, adapt to change without losing your core and staying in that grounded world, in a world that constantly is shifting. Your ability to bend without breaking is key. Um, Stay open to new solutions. Practice letting go of control. My staff actually got me the doll, the frozen doll that sings "Let It Go." It's a good reminder for me. Sometimes we do just need to let it go, and it's okay. And let go of the fact that you can't sometimes control the things that you cannot control, and come back to the things that you can, and let it go. Sorry if I'm going to make that song stuck in your head, but
Thanks.
yeah. Okay, I know we're coming up on time, so I'm just going to go through a few more of these real quick here. Create your resiliency toolkit. So your resilient toolkit, easy for me to say. Again, it's not necessarily being reactive. It's a planned moment that sometimes when you get news and you're going to get news, or even when you don't know that you're going to get the news, that's something that you can't control. Let's build a toolkit that works for you, so that way when something does happen, you've already got a framework to continue to use to foster that resiliency that you're going to need. And then when you feel seen and supported, you can weather those storms and help others too. So having this toolkit can really be something that you can come back to help you through that moment that we all are going to have, right? So building that support network, leaning into your community, asking those questions, right, and having them also be a part of the solution. Give and receive help, and list your go-to practices, and understanding those things that we talked about that trigger, and then what can you do to counteract those moments, and then what do you need to do more of, and then build it intentionally. And Blossom saying, when building a support network, make sure to include people who are different from you. Otherwise, you'll get the same insight you already have. That's very good. Very good. Oh, and then Lori said, procrastination is usually a pretty good grounding technique when I get back to it. My brain has had a chance to calm down and work through the issue. Yes. Sorry, my eyes are watering, so I'm having a hard time reading all those, but thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, purpose, right? Reconnect with your why. Why are you doing what you're doing every day? What is it that makes you have that purpose, that sense of motivation? What is your mission, your mantra, your motivation? All those things that, can help you stay grounded in your purpose. And, then you can really be the resilient person that you need to be in the face of adversity, and making sure that what you're doing is aligning your actions with your values. And let meaning guide decisions. And of course, purpose gives chaos meaning. It reminds us why we keep going. And really, so Blossom says, I'd love to know your why if you want to share it. My why is, I believe that I am on this earth to make those connections, to inspire people to do the things that we want them to do. So our mantra is to disrupt, connect, and inspire. And in our world, we have to disrupt people's normal patterns to be able to get messages to them, whether it's for them to buy something, to be aware of something, to educate them through storytelling. And so my why really is to make those connections. And I'm a great connector. I love to connect people, by the way. It's my favorite thing to do in the whole world, is to connect other people to each other, knowing that they can both benefit each other. And then inspiring. So I want to inspire people to do something because of my actions that I've done and the stories that I've told. So thank you for asking, Blossom. My why is to definitely make connections in lots of different ways. And with what we do with visuals and all the things that we do. Okay, so your roadmap to your 30-day resilience plan. So imagine yourself in 30 days from now. Think about it for a second. I want you to think about how you're going to stay grounded, focused, and resilient. And I want you to think about the things that are going to help you get there in 30 days from now. And think about the things that you're going to learn along the way. First, we're going to release. Think about what we don't need anymore. What are we going to let go of? Like that Elsa doll, let it go. And this could be a mindset. I have to do it all. Or, you might be overcoming that mindset of, oh, I got to be everywhere to everything and everybody and make everybody happy. Or maybe it's a habit that you need to let go, or, overcommitting or not being able to say no, or whatever it is that you feel like you just need to release. Maybe it's the emotional baggage that we all can sometimes carry with us, the guilt, the fear, the resentment. Releasing creates space for new things, right? Releasing creates space. And then we're going to strengthen what's already working for you that you want to amplify. Maybe it's your morning routine, your ability to set boundaries, or leaning into your values. During tough moments, identify it and make a plan to reinforce it. And I think that if you can focus and make space for the things that are going well, and I always say what do we need to stop, start, keep, or tweak? And the things that we want to stop then can make space for the things that we want to start, keep, or tweak. So what's already working for you and what do we want to do more of that is working? And then 3, try. What's one thing that you're curious to experiment with and why? Maybe it's the breathing technique, maybe it's journaling, and maybe it's a team check-in ritual. We have our huddles that we do with our team on a regular basis. Everybody gets 2 minutes. We take a timer and we always check in. Okay, how are you doing right now? What's your word of the day? And then they tell us their word of the day. And if sometimes people are saying, oh, I'm tired, or if they're saying, I'm happy or I'm excited or I'm whatever, then we kind of know what headspace that they're in. And it just takes a moment to do that. But what can you try? Team check-in ritual, or seeking out a coach or a peer. Maybe you want to try to have an accountability buddy, somebody that you can partner with to help you hold you accountable. But yeah, resilience is strengthened through this exploration that you can try. So what are you going to practice or support? What can you do to try something new that might help in your framing what you're doing? Oh yeah, I love this. Lori shared her why. My why is to help folks who interact with public nonprofit services feel empowered and heard through those services. Thank you for sharing your why. I love that. All right, so number 4, your daily anchor. Pick one short ritual that you can do every day. Ideally, something simple that you enjoy. This might be a 2-minute breathing practice, a walk outside, a gratitude note. Sometimes I do positive Post-it notes for people. Makes me feel good, makes them feel good. And done consistently, this builds a strong baseline of calm. I think one of my discovered daily anchors is my husband brings me coffee every morning. And if for whatever reason he doesn't have time to do that, or it doesn't bring me coffee, then I'm off for the day until I get my coffee. And I feel very fortunate that I have a husband that will do that for me, because it just makes me feel good that he wants to do that for me. And it makes him feel good for doing it for me. So I feel like that's one of my anchors that I didn't, anticipate or realize until I didn't get coffee one day. And when I was traveling, I was traveling without him, and I really missed my coffee from him. Anyway, just pick something that can help you daily have a consistent moment that you look forward to. That helps kind of really build that strong baseline of calm when you need it. And then number 5, a weekly reset. Once a week, block out 15 to 30 minutes for personal check-in. What worked this week? Why did it work? What needs to shift? This helps you stay aligned and adaptive without burning out, and just being reflective on things that have occurred and what went well, what didn't go well, and then kind of, recycle that again, and writing it down, and committing to it and revisiting that weekly is going to remind you of the things that you set with intention. And then, of course, the number 6, the future self check-ins. Visualize the version of you that shows up with clarity in 30 days from now, with confidence and calm. Ask, what does this version of me need today? This keeps your growth connected to your long-term vision and your why. And then encourage those around you to maybe participate with you in this idea of, what does clarity, confidence, calm mean? And how am I going to be the resilient person that I need to be, the leader that I need to be? And writing down your plan and revisiting it regularly is super helpful, because it can then, just the act of writing it down, but then remembering what it is that you want to do. We have in our break room, we have index cards, and we have our goals on there. And we also talk a little bit, it's like our, think of like a player card, like a baseball card. Of course, we don't do, so we do career cards, and it shares a little bit about who we are, what we do, and kind of our strengths, and just the things that we want to share about ourselves, especially when new people come in, they can look at the board. And then from there, we have our smarter goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relatable, time-based, ethical, and recorded. And so we write them down and we visualize them, and we go back to them and look at them, especially when we're in the break room, like staring at the fridge, and then I can stare at our wonderful cards that we've created for each other, and to remind ourselves, what is it that our goals are? What do we want to do? And I also encourage people to do, even at home, have your sticky notes of your, the reminders of the things that you're working on, that you want, to ask yourself to continue to be on this path of how you can implement your long-term vision. Oh, Vicky's on a 365-day yoga challenge. Anchor, reset daily, ground me in calm. I love that. That's so awesome. All right, I'm almost through my slides, I promise. Okay, then Calm the Chaos worksheet. You can use that to your advantage, and think about how you can use that, not just now, but with your team, and having those small, consistent steps to make powerful change. Keep going. And in conclusion, I want you to think about and to reflect on the things that you did today that would be your biggest takeaways. What stood out, what landed, what's one intention that feels meaningful to you to carry forward. It's not necessarily about the tools and tactics, but it's about shifting how we show up as leaders, communicators, and as humans, especially in the times of chaos that we're experiencing. But our calm presence can be a source of strength for others. And of course, don't forget to support each other. Resilience does not have to be a solo journey. You can keep telling your story of who you are, what you believe, and why you're headed the direction that you're headed. Because again, how you communicate shapes the culture around you. And this is not the end. This is just the next chapter of how you're going to lead. And with that, there's a QR code. There's some tools that you can look at, that I hope this is the right QR code. You'll have to tell me where it goes. I don't know. I thought I was going to update it. I think I hopefully got updated. Anyway, oh, my phone died. I don't know where that QR code goes, but there's a QR code for you.
Probably somewhere good.
Hopefully. I did so many presentations and there are so many different QR codes, so I'm hoping that this goes to the right place. If not, that's okay.
It goes to a connect with me form.
Oh, perfect. Okay, yes, there you go. Yay. Yay for my team. They helped me out.
And I think
yeah.
it says on here, more content, da 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 da. It doesn't say anything about getting the slides, but
Okay.
I'm wondering
we
if
can
people
send those
would.
out.
Okay.
Yeah, if you fill that out, because it'll give me your email, I think. Yep, your email address. Yeah, fill this out and I can then send those out. No problem. Yay. Connect with me. Yeah. Good job. Good job, team. Lauren, she's our graphic design intern from Boise State, and her last days are coming up because she's got finals. So she helped me out with this presentation. So just a little shout out to the graphic design team at Boise State. Okay, questions. I even had 2 minutes to spare.
2 minutes to spare. Does anyone have any questions or any last minute thoughts or concerns? Or I heard somebody mention the other day, was it Crispin saying threats? Any thoughts, concerns, questions, threats?
I'd love to know what some of the takeaways that people are going to implement after having spent an hour with me. If you care to share. They're busy writing down.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important to remember some of these, like the pillars that you mentioned, and maybe practices that we've all done sort of at various times in our lives, and sort of pulling them back and being intentional about them. So, I was thinking about that as you were talking.
Good. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. It's just a good reminder for those moments that we need to keep grounded for sure.
Mhm.
Good. I liked
Right.
the calm.
The calm. This was an hour of calm. That is a respite. So all of our NSLs are going to be on our YouTube, and then I'll make sure to send out a copy of this, and then also the slide deck and the worksheet to everybody who registered and attended this today. So then you'll be able to, utilize that as well. Because again, our intention is to, our devious plot to make the world a better place, and have everybody have more resources and more access and connections to like-minded individuals. And also, Blossom, I'll kind of let you speak a little bit more to this and kind of give us more qualitative information on our way out.
Sure. So if you need consulting services or know others that need consulting services, we're your team. We have 3 primary categories: leadership development, operations, and strategy. We did just recruit Ray to our team. So we've deepened our expertise by a mile with her joining us. But we really want you to know that we're your go-to place. If you're using consultants, come see us first, because you're doing double the good when you use our consulting services.
And then you can join us next month. We're going to be focusing on ebbing the tide, strategies to keep your door open. Again, focusing on timely and appropriate topics that are going to be able to not only be helpful for those who participate, but it's a resource for you to have that you can also share with important people. And speaking of things coming up, we know that Mother's Day is around the corner. And so we have something that we would I'll stop sharing here. Something that we would like to share with you. It's in the chat. We are developing a way that we're going to be able to help you honor the important woman in your life. Like I was thinking, know a mom, like a mom, want to be a mom, that important woman in your life that helps shape who you are. And so if you follow the link, we have it on our website. You're able to help donate and contribute to what we're doing for nonprofits across the state of Idaho. And also you're going to be able to have something to give to your mom in exchange for that. So in her honor. So we expect for you to be able to check that out. You get a certificate, and it has a cute picture of you and your mom, or just you, or just your mom if she's cuter than you think that you are in the picture with her. And it's just a really great way to be able to do both things at the same time.
With that, we would like to thank everyone for joining us, and please share this information about what Ray brought to us today, as well as what's coming up in May. It's a very timely topic. We may not have all the answers, but we certainly have experts that can help you think about what those answers could look like for your organization. So share the message, be a shareholder. Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Thanks. Good to see y'all.